Hi, and thank you for participating. This video will provide a brief overview of the features of MakeHuman so that you can design your own character. MakeHuman is an open source software for 3D humanoid character modeling. While the program allows for entire bodies to be modeled, for the sake of time, we will only be focusing on designing the face of the characters. Additionally, as you're watching this video, I'd like you to stop the video and occasionally follow along. I will demonstrate the features of the program, but it is up to you to decide when and how you implement these features to create your character. You have 45 minutes allotted to you for training, and this video is 30 minutes long. Meaning you should occasionally pause the video and familiarize yourself on your own computer. You don't need to think aloud during the tutorial, but you will need to after the training ends and you start making your character. To start out, let's talk about how to navigate the program. When you first open MakeHuman, it will look like this. To rotate your character, hold the left click and move your mouse. To rotate the camera in small movements, you can also use the number pad on the right side of the keyboard. For example, pressing 4 moves this way, 6 goes to the right, 8 goes up, and 2 goes down. To zoom in or out, you can hold the right click and move your mouse up or down, and it'll zoom in to where you initially clicked in. You can also scroll using the mouse wheel to zoom in. To pan the camera, you can use the up, down, left, or right keys on the keyboard. Additionally, at the top of the screen, there's some additional buttons for maneuvering the camera as well. Now let's start explaining the attributes you can alter to change the design of your character. We're going to focus on the Modeling tab here, which is selected by default when you start. Most of your design options for your character are under this tab. In particular, we'll just be focusing on the Main subtab and the Face subtab, since you will only design the face of the character. You can completely ignore the Gender, Torso, and Arms and Legs tabs, and later we'll talk about this FaxHuman 0.1 tab that lets you alter some facial expressions. But let's focus back on the Main tab for now. Here there are some macro sliders that you can control. Designing in MakeHuman is very simple because all controls are made by dragging sliders. These include Gender, where all the way left is a more feminine character, and all the way right is a more masculine character, or you can choose a point in between those two. For Age, left is younger, while right is older. Muscle, weight, height, and proportions don't impact the face of the character very much, but they're there if you want to. It's smaller on the left and bigger on the right for all of these. The last 3 sliders are race sliders. The 3 choices are African, Caucasian, or Asian. Moving one slider all the way decreases the other sliders. So you can choose to have one race slider all the way up, or choose a mix between just 2 or 3. As a note, for nearly all sliders in the program, if you right-click the slider, it will return to its default value. Additionally, the 2 arrow buttons near the top left of the screen, right here, allow you to undo or redo any of your actions. You can also press Ctrl-Z to undo. For example, changing the gender, Ctrl-Z, or clicking here. Or you can press Ctrl-Y to redo an action, or this button here. You can also make use of the Face subtab. This subtab provides the most control over designing the features of the face of your character. After going to the Face subtab, you'll notice that on the right side of the screen, there's a list of categories that can be selected, while on the left side of the screen, there are several specific attributes that can be altered for the category that's currently selected. The categories include head shape, with age, head fat, angle, oval, round, rectangular, square, triangular, inverted triangular, diamond, depth of the parietal side. Head size, scale depth, scale horizontal, scale vertical, moving horizontal, moving vertical, moving depth. Forehead, forehead bulge, scale vertically, cranic shape, temple bulge, eyebrows, eyebrows bulge, eyebrows angle, and moving eyebrows vertically. The neck, double neck, scale depth, scale horizontal, scale vertical, move horizontal, vertical, depth, and depth scale of nape. Eyes, eye bag volume, eye bag distortion, eye bag height, eye fold angle, eye epicanthus, eye fold volume, eye fold position, scale height 2, scale height 3, outer corner horizontal, inner corner horizontal, moving eye horizontally, moving eye vertically, scaling the eye, moving the outer corner vertically, and inner corner vertically. Nose size, moving vertically, moving the depth, moving horizontally, scale vertically, scale horizontally, scale depth. Nose size details, scale nostrils width, scale tip width, move base vertically, scale width 1, scale width 2, scale width 3. Nose features, compression, curve, Greek, hump, volume, nostril angle, moving the tip vertically, septum angle, and nostrils flaring. The mouth size, scale horizontally, scaling vertically, scale depth, moving horizontally, moving vertically, move depth, mouth size details, scale of the lower lip height, scale lower lip width, scale upper lip height, scale upper lip width, Cupid's bow width. Mouth features, dimples, laugh lines, lower lip curved shape, moving the corners vertically, scaling the middle lower lip volume, philtrum volume, upper lip volume, upper lip curved shape, middle upper lip, Cupid's bow shape. The ears, movement depth, scaling, moving vertically, scale height, scale of the lobe, ear shape, ear rotation, ear shape, squared round, scale width, wing shaped, ear flapped, chin and jaw, tone of side chin, cleft chin, scale chin prominence, scale chin width, scale chin height, scale chin angular, scale chin prognathism, and the cheeks, cheek volume, scale cheek prominence, cheek inner volume, and moving vertically. Note that for categories like the eyes, ears, and cheeks, there are separate categories for left and right. This allows you to have differences between the two sides. However, if you want to make identical changes to the left and right side at the same time, you can click the Symmetry button right here. This will make it so that any change made on a left or right category will apply the same change for the same attribute on the opposite side. For example, making a change on one side will apply equally to both. If you want to disable this, just click it again. Additionally, if you want to apply all the features on the left side of the face to the right side, or vice versa, you can use the buttons on the left of the Symmetry button, right here, to apply settings from the left to the right, or apply the settings on the right to the left. For example, this will apply the settings on the left to the right. Remember also, if you choose a category and no attributes appear on the list, for example, like this, just to scroll back up. While most of your design decisions will be made in the Modeling tab, there are also some options to choose from in the Geometries tab. This tab allows you to select from a list of pre-built design features for your character, like hair. Unlike the Modeling tab, you can't make fine-tuned changes to what is available here, but you can add anything from the list that's available here if you'd like. For example, you can choose between clothes, hair, teeth, eyebrows, eyelashes, and tongue. For clothes, which we have selected here, many won't apply since you'll only be designing a face, but you can still look through and add options like a hat, for example, if you liked it. And just to remove it, you can click it again. Hair allows you to apply any of the available pre-built hairdos. Notice also on the left side that on each of the subtabs in Geometries, you can filter what is shown on the right. For example, if you only want female hair, you can select that here and choose from any of the available options. Eyebrows and eyelashes work similarly to hair. Teeth and tongue, you can both add, but you won't be able to see it unless you alter the expression of your character to open their mouth. And you can just ignore topologies as well as eyes. I'll show you how to change eye color on the next tab. The Materials tab allows you to apply different skin textures to your character, as well as change eye color. Like the Geometries tab, you just select from the list on the right. It will start with skin textures selected. If you'd like to change the eye color, you can also do that by selecting the option on the left and then choosing among the options on the right. Let's do a very quick review before moving on. Under Modeling, you can control what your character looks like using the Main and the Face subtabs and using the sliders while choosing different categories. Geometries lets you add pre-built features like hair and eyebrows. Materials lets you add skin textures as well as change the color of the eyes. Now let's learn how to save your character. Near the very top left of the screen, you'll see this button that says Save as you hover over it. Clicking this brings you to the Save screen. You can also select the File tab here and then the Save tab, and it goes to the same location. From here, you can provide a name for your character and then press Save to save it. From here, you can go to the Load tab, or you can also press this button in the very top left, and it'll go to the load screen here. And you can see the character that you just saved appearing over here. If you ever want to, you can start from scratch by clicking the Reset button, which is located here. If you ever want to reload a character, to see it or edit it, you can just go back here to the load screen and select it from the list on the right. You are only required to make one character face, but this feature is here if you find it useful. In addition to the features we've gone over for designing the facial structure of your character model, you can also move the facial structure into an expression. Important to note is that these facial expressions are not saved with your model, like what we just saved here. They are saved in a separate file, and I'll show you how to do that. Under the Modeling tab, over on the right, there's the MakeHuman 0.1 tab. This allows for the modification of facial expressions. On the left-hand side, there are many sliders that are grouped into 7 sections. First is the Emotions blender. It lists several emotions, and you can mix them together, like anger and surprised. As a quick reminder, if you do something that makes the character open their mouth and you wish they had teeth or a tongue, you can add those under the Geometries tab. The second section controls the upper face, like raising or lowering eyebrows, eyelids, or cheeks. Third section controls the lower face, like the nose and lips. The fourth section controls the head position, like looking left or right. The fifth section controls eye positions, meaning which direction each eye is looking. The sixth section controls lips parting and the jaw opening as 2 ways of opening the mouth. The last section has a few miscellaneous sliders, like changing pupil size or puffing out cheeks. Additionally, if you want to tone down the effect of the sliders you've already moved, you can go to the right side of the screen, to the General Intensity slider, and bring it down. This will lower the slider positions of all sliders you have moved on this tab. Likewise, if you'd like to reset everything, you can click the Reset Facial Code button here, and it will reset all sliders on the left. You are free to ignore or utilize any of these features just like the rest of the options on the Modeling tabs, Geometries, and Materials tabs. The main difference here is that the expressions on the MakeHuman tab are not saved with your model. So if you want to save an expression to load again later, you must click the Save Fax Code button located here. So let's add some expressions. Click Save Fax Code. Let's call this Anger Fear. Save. Now, even if you reset or load another model, for example, I'll just reset, you can load that same expression that you just saved onto the model. For example, by going to Load Fax Code, I can click on the Anger Fear expression that I just saved, and it will apply that expression to this new character model. You can think of this as when you save your model under the Normal Save tab over here. Let's say this is example 2. You can think of this as when you save your model using the Normal Save tab, that you are saving the facial structure of your character. When you save an expression under the MakeHuman tab, you're saving an expression that could be loaded onto any facial structure. Together, they can be used to design your character, or you can use only one or the other. The process and choice is up to you. For example, notice when loading these characters, the expression is not loaded with them. You must go back to the MakeHuman tab, click Load Fax Code, and apply the saved expression. Another additional feature of MakeHuman is the ability to generate multiple characters simultaneously. This can be used to compare multiple design ideas. The way it works is that it takes whatever model is currently open, whether the default settings or the one that you're already working on, and then it generates multiple models based on that model and adding randomized settings that you select for how much you want to deviate from the model you're working with. How to use this feature is up to you, but for this study, we ask that you use this feature at least once, though you are free to use it as much or as little after that, once you've used it at least once. To access this, go to the Community tab all the way on the right, and then select the Mass Produce sub-tab here. While this may initially appear complicated, it is actually much simpler than it appears. Basically, you are simply selecting the features you want to randomize on the characters that you generate. Most of your focus will be on the left side of the screen, on the macro settings and modeling settings, but we'll start off in the center here. At the top, you'll see some checkboxes for randomizing hair, eyelashes, eyebrows, and different clothes. If you remember on the Geometries tab over here, that you could select among several different options over here. If we go back to the Mass Produce tab, by selecting one of these checkboxes, you're saying that you want it to randomly select one of those materials when it generates a character. The same applies for the box that says randomize skins. It will randomly select one from the Materials tab. The tables below are just the rules for selecting the hair, clothing, and skins and are already completely set up, so you don't need to pay any attention to them. Just leave them as they are. I'll select randomize hair and keep randomize skin selected as well. Let's turn our attention to the macro settings. Remember the settings on the Modeling tab under the main sub-tab?
The macro settings you see here are what will be changed in the Mass Produce tab if you select Randomize.
For example, you could change the age of the character. So, if you'd like it to randomly choose an age, select Randomize Age and keep it checked. You can choose an upper or lower bound as well. So if you don't want it to go to the lowest age, you could keep it up here, and if you don't want it to go to the highest age, you could bring it down like this. The same goes for weight, height, and muscle. Gender and ethnicity are a little different. If you remember, you could choose to have gender or ethnicity to be all the way on one side, like this, or somewhere in between. Same for the ethnicities. If you'd like it to generate a character that only has gender or ethnicity all the way to the end points of the sliders, like fully feminine or fully masculine, you would check absolute gender. If you'd like to allow options that are in between, you would leave it unselected, but still keep randomized gender selected. The same goes for ethnicity. If you want a character that's either fully Caucasian, Asian, or African, you would select absolute ethnicity. If you want to allow generation of characters that have a mix between the three, you would leave it unchecked. Below the macro settings, we have the modeling settings. If you remember back on the Modeling tab, under the Face sub-tab, on the right side, there were many different categories that you could select, such as cheek, eyes, mouth, and others. In the Modeling Settings section, under Mass Produce, the parameters that have to do with the face have already been selected, but you are free to keep them selected or unselect them. It's up to you. By selecting a section, you're allowing it to randomize the attributes of that feature. By unselecting it, that feature will remain constant with the model that you are already working with. At the bottom is the slider that says Max Deviation from Defaults. Here you are choosing how much you want to deviate from your current model. If you want very small deviations, you can put the slider towards the left. More moderate changes are in the middle, and very wildly different deviations will happen if you move it more towards the right. I'm going to do two examples to demonstrate the features of the Mass Produce tab. First, I'll do one where I keep many features selected for randomization. Then I'll do another where I just randomize one feature. Let's start by randomizing many features all at once. I'll keep the randomization slider a little bit more to the left, but not too far. And remember that we are using the model that's currently open for randomization. If you want to make sure that no changes are made to this model, be sure to go to the Save tab and save. So we'll save that as the example name. Just remember that we are using this model as a starting point for generating. To start generating, on the Mass Produce tab, go to the right side of the screen and type a name for your models. This is the name that you'll see by them on the load screen. I'll call this first example. Keep the file format as MHM, and then choose the number of models you'd like to produce. You can make this lower or higher, though it will take longer to run the higher the number. I'll keep it at 5 for now, and then click Produce. You'll see a progress bar go across the bottom, and then a message tells you that it finished producing the models. You can click OK. As a side note, a rare bug can sometimes occur when generating characters after you've pushed the Produce button, where the loading bar at the bottom of the screen stops loading and it never shows the Done message. If this occurs, simply save the model that you're working on and close out of the program, and then click the MakeHuman icon at the bottom of the screen to restart the program. Then reload your model and everything will work as it should. If you have questions, you can also ask the researcher in the room with you. From here, click the Load button over here to go to the load screen. And notice how 5 models that have the name you specified are present in the file selection. You can select them to view them. These models can be manually adjusted using the Modeling, Geometries, and Materials tabs, just like any other model that you would manually create. Now let's do an example of using a smaller number of attributes to randomize. I'll just select this one that's already open and use it as a starting point. I'll go back to the Community tab and then Mass Produce. And I'll uncheck everything, which means I do not want it to change from the model that's currently being used, except for the attribute that I choose. So let's do eyes. That should be something that's easy to see. I'll move it a little higher to make it deviate from this current model more. And then I'm going to come over here and just to showcase this, I'll change this to 10 just to show that you can increase the number. And you can keep the same name, but it will overwrite any files that are present with that name. So to prevent it from overwriting what I already created, I'm going to call this second example, and I'm going to click Produce. I'll click OK and go back to the load screen. And now you can see I have many under second example. Let's look through them. Here you can see it generated multiple deviations from the model that we started with, only for the characteristic that we asked it to randomize on. This concludes the tutorial video. While MakeHuman does have some other features, the features I just showed are more than enough to design the face of your character. Use the remaining time left in the training session to familiarize yourself with MakeHuman. Feel free to skip to any point in the video to review any part of the tutorial as well. Thank you.